All right, so obviously the first thing that we're going to talk about is Deebo Samuel requesting a trade, biggest storyline of the day, or Kanye West, whatever one you guys want to talk about first.
Dave Portnoy, I don't know.
Yeah, he's doing some shit coin or something now, or he's like making people millions of dollars or something.
Sign me up.
I feel like I gotta jump on that. No, obviously Super Bowl happened last night. Big shocker, huge shocker. We all picked the Chiefs. And I did not expect them to be a blowout like that. But before we get into Super Bowl, I do want to talk about actually the Deebo Samuel trade request or trade permission, and also Aaron Rodgers. So those were two big storylines before the Super Bowl yesterday. So I was curious with you guys, where is the most likely destination, do you think, for Deebo Samuel, and where does it make sense? Because I think his salary isn't that bad. It's at $15 million, which is pretty small for a former talented wide receiver.
How many years left does he have on that?
I don't know. I think he's got one more year left, but I could be wrong.
So it'll probably be a trade, and then so you can, someone promise him maybe a big deal or a re-sign or something like that afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, he's got looks like 1 year left on that deal for next season. I like the Chargers. I think the Chargers makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is a team that completely lacks playmakers. They drafted Ladd, which was a huge boost to their offense. Where would that offense be without Ladd McConkey last year? Who knows? Quentin Johnston really hasn't panned out. We've seen flashes here and there, but for the most part, his career has been highlighted by drops. You've got guys like Stone Smart, Hayden Hurst. They don't really have it. So I think that's why Deebo makes a lot of sense from a playmaking standpoint, because you have to remember, Deebo isn't like a traditional wide receiver. You're going to use him more in a gadget role in the backfield, a lot of screens, things of that nature. And I think that's exactly what the Chargers need, is somebody that can kind of do everything. Outside of them, the other two teams I was looking at were the Cowboys and the Bills. Cowboys is a team absolutely that needs a wide receiver too, to go next to CD. Brandon Cooks, I think, is still there. Is he a free agent after this year? But he's old, and he's at the end of his career. You can't imagine much from him. Jalen Tolbert's there, but what has he really done in his career? And then the Bills. Shakir's showed up in the playoffs and really and truly in the regular season, just being a safety net for Josh Allen. But outside of that, Keon Coleman's got a long way to go. Curtis Samuel, I think he might be a free agent as well this year. So if Curtis Samuel moves on, you can bring in Deebo to kind of replace his role, but highlight it even more. So those were the three teams that kind of really, at least on the initial surface, really stuck out to me.
Yeah, I think the biggest question for me is, what's his value at? Well, I mean, what do we think it takes to get him? Is it a third? Is it a fourth?
It's probably less than that, right?
Yeah.
Because,
it's only 1 year.
Yeah, it's 1 year, number one, and number two, he was awful.
I was going to say he's coming off a down year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously being plugged into Panthers Twitter, a ton of Panthers fans are like, this is the guy, this is one we need. And I'm just like, man, I just don't know. But I think it's a team like that where they're kind of desperate probably, and that is going to be willing to overpay. Because I don't think right now, if he was a free agent, was just looking for a contract, and he's at $15 million right now, I don't think he's worth that.
No,
I don't think it's a bad contract, but I don't think that's what he's worth. So with 1 year left, I think you're looking at a team like that that's desperate to make a move. Maybe somewhere like the Raiders, where they're just kind of lacking those playmakers like that. Bryce Young was the Panthers' offense was last in yards after catch in the entire league. So I mean, there's places like that where it might make sense for someone like him to go, but.
The other reason is, the obvious one, is he's from South Carolina. He went to college at South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
He loves them too. He was there, I think, for homecoming this year. I saw him on the sidelines. Yeah. You guys really were a team that I was considering as well. Yeah. I don't know. I look at the other teams more in that contending role, which is why he would want to go there. Not to say that that the Panthers won't be there in 2, maybe 3 years, maybe next year's the year. You never know. We saw what the Commanders did this past year, but that's the reason why I didn't think of the Panthers as much. But a lot of other things make sense.
I know we like to meme about every time there's a free agent, I'm like, oh, come home, come to the Panthers. But he is one that's he's probably where it's we're so untalented that he probably would be our best receiver. We probably would overpay for someone like that. It's close to home. J.C. Horn has been tweeting about it, because he's a USC guy as well. So
Whoa. USC, is that what they – so college guy. Do you call it USC?
USC
Is that what it is? I was just curious because USC and USC. I always wondered, like, if they actually call it USC there. Do they call it down there?
USC
A
from
lot of
around
people
here.
do.
Yeah, I was going to say in the Carolinas, that's what I've heard. But I'm not a huge college guy, so I was like, oh, no, I might have said some shit wrong.
Hypothetical, Noah, as a Panthers fan, would you rather have Deebo or Cooper Kupp? Totally. They play different roles, too.
Probably Cup, just because we're not having to give up. Well, no, they're looking to trade him as well.
Him. Yeah, he's got a big contract.
I think it comes down to what you're giving up. Probably Deebo, even though like that's asking me like, would I rather have like porridge or oatmeal every day? Like it's kind of like now there's like bad, but I'm not like foaming at the mouth. Like so.
Cooper Kupp is 2 years older. Cooper Kupp's 31 and Deebo's 29.
It's so insane when you put it in that perspective because, like, without thinking about it, I'd have been like, oh, there's 6 years between the two of them. Like, Deebo feels like he's like 27.
I know. Yeah. Deebo's only 20. It's that 30, though. You know, 30 is such a huge year for wide receivers and running backs anymore where it's like you're on that other side of 30. It's like, I don't know how much you got left. But if you're before that, you're like, hey, you're still young. You've still got some years left. But I don't know because Deebo's got so much wear and tear on his body so far in his young career.
And there's also just been a lot of drama in San Francisco. Yeah. Every receiver's held out. You know, Cooper Kupp, he's sneaky athletic, and he's a locker room guy. So you know,
just because
he's a gym rat, right?
Yeah, he's a gym rat. He's good for the culture.
I was kind of on the same page. I was just thinking of run-heavy offenses because I feel like Deebo, like you said, is not the traditional wide receiver. He's not going to get 10 targets a game, but he can be used as a running back, so I see him more as a hybrid player than I do a receiver. So I said Pittsburgh would be a great option. They've been desperate for a receiver, a playmaker on the outside to go with not Deontay Johnson. Jeez, I'm 10 years back. Freaking George Pickens. And, I just feel like he fits their culture, too, like very tough. He does get hurt a lot. That's the only thing that I'm worried about with Deebo. If you're trading for him, you're also trading for potential health issues. And the Chargers were another team. I did say Baltimore, but I say everybody comes to Baltimore. But it is a run-heavy offense, and they need another guy in their wide receiver room. So it wouldn't be crazy.
One of these days, there's going to be a free agent that you're not going to say will go to the Ravens,
and then he'll go to the Ravens
or the guy that's requested a trade.
Well, last year was Derrick Henry. I said that's probably not going to happen. Like I kept thinking it was going to happen. And I was like,
What was your prediction? Cowboys with them?
I thought he was going to Dallas because he lived there.
Makes
I was
sense.
like, he'll probably end up going there because
I think
Jerry
us
Jones.
as fans put way too much weight into that stuff, though. Like,
Deebo
having Carolina ties, it probably means like nothing. So
it means something, I think, towards the end of your career. Like Calais Campbell, he went to Miami. Isn't he from Florida or something? Or am I off there? But I just feel like the older you get, the more you're like, you know, I kind of want to go home and just Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
This past year, he just went to Carolina.
He went to Miami. Calais Campbell did go to Miami.
Yes. And he had ties there, and so Clowney. So I feel like maybe if you're in your prime, probably not. It's just a matter of who's going to get me paid.
Well, I think the thing with, and this is totally off tangent, but I think the thing with Derrick Henry was it was kind of a match made in heaven where you're like, hey, this is a team that's desperate for a running back, and they've got the makeup or the mark of a team that is going to be a run heavy team where and you've got that hometown effect. So if you've got those kind of all in place and they were in a win now mode, whereas like with Deebo, when we're talking about the Panthers, it's like maybe the Panthers aren't necessarily in that win now mode. I think Noah, you can probably attest to that. And does he really fit exactly what they're looking to do? I think he can absolutely be a playmaker, but in what sense with the Panthers? And would he go to a team that is rebuilding when he's kind of on that, starting to be on the downturn of his career?
Yeah.
I can't believe we're saying he's on the downturn of his career. Like at this point, it feels
like
just
3 years ago we were like he was a top 5, no doubt.
You typically look at age, but like with him, he's a unique situation where, like we said, he's had just so many injuries and so much wear and tear on his body where even though he's only 29, it's like, yeah, but that body's taking a beating. And it's because he doesn't play that traditional wide receiver role. It's because he's taking way more hits than a traditional wide receiver, I think, would.
Yeah. And then the second big news from yesterday, which I was awfully surprised by it, and I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts because I think the Jets are kind of stupid for making this move right now, but they are going to get rid of Aaron Rodgers as it's reported here. But also what I want to point out is that Rodgers last year had an underrated season. As you can see, he had 3,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, 51 passes of 20-plus yards, and only 11 interceptions. So I'm curious not only where you guys think he should go, but do you think it was a good move by the Jets to release him?
Yeah, I do, because I think that they are ready to move on from this saga. I think that the Jets are always the Jets. We always say, oh, it's the Jets. It's the Jets. Why are they always the Jets? Because they always take in these kind of situations because they want the highlights, because they want that media attention. Maybe this is a little different because now they're like, hey, we don't want the media attention. We want to go with a much lower tier quarterback as far as the media is concerned. But I think that they just don't want the distraction. I think is really and truly what it comes down to. I don't think that Rodgers is necessarily a bad quarterback per se. I think that there is a little bit of rift between him and the front office, and it's going to be that way no matter where he goes. I think there's a little bit of a rift with him and a couple of the players on the team as well, with players not buying into him all the time. You know, this is a guy that doesn't go to training camp. I mean, it's hard, especially if you're a new player coming in and you're a rookie that's like, hey, I'm trying to establish myself and trying to make my mark on this team, but where's our leader? And I think that that's something that, the previous regime in New York, I think he had a lot of control over. And I think with the new regime coming in, I don't think he's got as much – he doesn't have as much emphasis on what's going to happen with the team, I guess is what I could say.
I think we get a good old swap here. Since we're talking about where we think he's going to be going, now that he's out, I think a good spot for Sam Darnold to land could be back in New York.
I can't imagine Sam doing that mentally,
yeah,
though.
But did you see what somebody, I think it was Snoop Dogg, he mentioned New York. Like, I bet you're glad you're not in New York anymore. And he smirked. I don't think he would ever go back there.
Yeah, when you're a quarterback that just had a great year like that, you're going to go to someone who's going to pay you. And there's not going to be a ton of teams in the league that I think that pay for Sam Darnold. The only reason I say that, too, is I could see Aaron Rodgers ending up in Minnesota. I think that'd be
I know.
I said the same thing. I said
it's Brett Favre 2.0.
Yep.
It literally is the same exact thing Brett Favre did. And it would be a historic ending. Because he hated Brett Favre. It makes no sense for how much he says he hated Brett Favre. He's turning into Brett Favre. So,
the thing, too, is, like, with the Jets, they're what, the 7th pick in the draft this year, not a quarterback-heavy draft, so you're not going to get a guy, right? Like,
if I were the Jets, I would tank next year and take Arch.
I hate tanking. As a dude, like the Panthers have had top 10 draft picks for 5 years in a row, and we're still ass. It just doesn't do much. The Eagles have.
I disagree. What about Cincinnati? Because Cincinnati went through that process basically. During the years with Andy Dalton, I think. No, it was like when they drafted Burrow. They had Burrow, and then they tanked again when Burrow got hurt. They were still not good, and then they got Chase.
Right.
So I feel like it can work if like Tyler said, the evaluators. I mean, if you're taking the right guy, Jets taking
I think building a winning culture is more important, especially, like, look at the Eagles. They haven't had high draft picks over the years. And, they've had a few, but they've hit on picks across the board. I mean, they're getting guys in the second round, late first rounds that are contributing immediately. So I could see the Jets maybe taking Tet at 7 and bringing in, especially if Garrett Wilson is wanting to be traded like they're saying he is. I don't know if that's going to happen or if they're shopping him or not. But if he goes,
because he's a Panther.
Maybe. I'd give up 8 for him. But like if he leaves. Maybe they take Tet. Maybe they roll with a plug-and-play QB. You got an entire new coaching staff, stuff like that. So there's a lot of variables at play, but I think it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I had the Steelers, the Raiders as my top 2 for Rodgers. I think Rodgers might want to go back west. I really do. I think that's why the Raiders, he could go in and start right away. You've got Pete Carroll there. I think he would mesh with pretty well. I think him and Chip Kelly would be a great match as well. Brock Bowers obviously would be great to throw through. Their offensive line is not terrible. It's definitely better than what he had in New York. I think that there's some interesting pieces there where if you plugged a guy like Aaron Rodgers into the Raiders, I think the Raiders, they play in such a tough division, and that's the one thing that we're going to talk about for years and years and years is how tough the AFC West is. But I do think that they can be very competitive with Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers makes a lot of sense because what are they going to do at quarterback? I really and truly, I have zero idea of what direction they're going to go at quarterback. And you guys said the Vikings. I mean, I hate to say it. Like, I don't want it to happen. I'm like, look, let's bring in somebody as a very decent backup that is not going to be a locker room cancer. And I want to roll with JJ, man. JJ to JJ is just I'm salivating over the ideas of that habit. JJ to JA, JJ to JJ, JJ to TJ.
It's not as good as the Darnold to Arnold connection we had in Carolina a few years back. Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold.
Dan Arnold. No, I think how Kevin O'Connell has constructed that locker room and really and truly how Kwesi has constructed this team does not fit Aaron Rodgers. I think back when Brett Favre was that free agent, it made a lot of sense because they needed a guy like that. Whereas right now, they don't need a quarterback to come in and completely take over a locker room.
Yeah.
Do you feel better going into that game this playoffs, though, with Sam Darnold or Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback?
Well, I mean, Rodgers, yes.
Yeah, right.
But if you had asked me that before Week 18, I probably would have said Sam Darnold.
Do the Vikings win that game?
No. I don't think we win that game either way. I still say this. The Eagles are a Jalen Carter sack away. If Jalen Carter does not get that sack on Matt Stafford, they lose that game. I'm still standing by that in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
They're Super Bowl champions, dude.
Yeah.
And
Put
you're going to
respect
say
on their
it.
name.
But what I'm doing is put a lot of respect on the Rams' name. Is what I'm really saying there. Is I think the Rams are a very good team.
Yeah, and what I said, Rodgers to the Steelers makes the most sense. Number one, because Aaron Rodgers has said multiple times he loves Mike Tomlin. Multiple times he has raved about Mike Tomlin. It's what Aaron Rodgers needs is a head coach like Mike Tomlin. He needs someone who's a culture setter and won't take a shit. I've always said he's one of those people where if you're gonna let him do whatever he wants, he's gonna take every single step that he can over top of you. But if he has someone who actually gives it back to him, I feel like he won't be as Aaron Rodgers. Like, I just feel like nobody pushes back on him, and he needs that push to be like, oh, this guy's, like, you have my respect. Like, you're actually taking this serious. Like, I just feel like Rodgers hasn't had that because he had Mike McCarthy, and then he went to New York and had multiple head coaches there. And also, the Steelers could get Devontae Adams. So they could pair those two up. They can afford both. And they have the connection there, and you have George Pickens. It's really interesting. I think that would make the most sense. I personally would hate it, but it would make a lot of sense. All right. I want you to say it with me, Tyler. You ready?
Yeah, what?
The Eagles are Super Bowl champions. They won 40-22. Can I get a congratulations or?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm supposed to give the Eagles their flowers, and I will say fuck that. I'm not saying congratulations worth anything to them. The Chiefs lost that game. Go look at every single statistic across the board. The Chiefs lost that game. That's exactly how I'm looking at it.
Who won the game?
Nobody did. I'm not giving them their flowers. I'm not going to sit here and give them their congratulations because those sick fans don't deserve any of it.
But we were just talking about they have so many likable players.
Great.
Like Saquon, Jalen, Darius Slay.
The disgustingness of your fans overshadow anything that's on the field. You look at these guys in the streets, they're busting windows, they're breaking anything that they can in front of them. They don't care about anything. All they care about is that it's a me versus everybody else mentality when they've created that. Oh. I cannot stand them, and I will never, ever congratulate them. And I really and truly hope that every single person out there that rooted against the Chiefs is so happy because when we're in this same spot next year, yes, I'm going ahead and saying that, I'm going to sit there and say, I told you so, because it's going to be a whole lot more worse of an intolerable fan base. Because you think the Swifties are bad? Imagine if the Eagles start a dynasty. Think about how intolerable Philadelphia is going to be. Because I really and truly think with the youth of that defense and how they have the pieces in place and what Howie Roseman has done, that we're going to be in the same exact spot next year. And then we're going to be talking about this, the three-peat with Philly. Think about how those fans are going to react. Everybody's going to hate them. And I'm just going to be sitting back saying, told you so, watch the world burn, because that's exactly what they're doing.
Noah?
That's how I feel.
Man, it was, I can't really follow that up. I will say, I was disappointed. I do hate Philly fans as well. Not as much as Tyler, apparently. I disagree with the whole Chiefs lost the game. It was just dominance in all three stages of the game. I haven't seen a game like that in a while, a Super Bowl like that. It was.
I've never seen Mahomes play that bad. Like he looked legit like a bottom 10 quarterback.
Everyone looked bad though. Like I mean, everyone's gonna shit on Mahomes, and I get it. Like he did play terrible, but like the entire team looked off. Like offensive line, obviously, the Eagles blitzed 0. They did not blitz one time, and the pressure rate was 50%. You're sending 4 dudes and getting to the quarterback 50% of the time?
What happened in the 2021 Super Bowl?
It was the exact same thing.
See,
it was the exact same thing.
So this is my thing, is the recipe is get 4 just dominant defensive linemen.
That's like the hardest thing to do in football.
It's so hard.
It's like,
but that's how
I
you
think
beat
the
'em.
Eagles would have won in 2022 if that field wasn't fucked up. I still believe that, because there is no way that a team who had the most sacks in the entire season didn't get one in the entire game. I think that, just like you said, Tyler, you have to have a great pass rush, and they fold. Every single time they fold. That's the only time they've lost.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the Eagles exposed what the Chiefs were really good at this year, which we kind of talked about last week, was 900 of Mahomes' yards came from the line of scrimmage. And they just weren't allowed to set any of that up. We saw the first play of the game. I think he threw a quick sidearm to Juju, and it was like,
first down.
Yeah, and it was
that
like,
was the only first down of the first half.
It was like, okay, they're going to move the ball easy, they're going to move the ball quick, and then there was just nothing after that. But we saw Travis Kelce drop passes, we saw DeAndre Hopkins drop passes. The offensive line looked terrible. The defense shut down Saquon Barkley, but
so the Chiefs
horrid.
lost.
They were horrid on third down, and they committed too many penalties that shot themselves in the foot. So
but
I mean,
even if you give, like, I see how I see a game where you say, oh, they beat themselves. Like, you don't get that blown out if you beat yourself. You beat yourself in a close game or like a semi-close game where it's like, if we would have caught this pass or did that wouldn't have mattered in the game. I mean, Travis Kelce could have caught every ball his way. It wouldn't have made a difference. DeAndre Hopkins could have made that catch. Doesn't make a difference in the game.
Is it time for them to move on from Kelce?
I mean, I think it's a hard conversation to have, but yeah. Because his cap hit is huge, and second of all, he didn't do anything all year, and we're all like, oh, let's wait for the playoff run. Like, the playoff run never came, and it just seems like to me he's not locked in.
He had a quick blip against
the Texans, right? Didn't he have 100 against the Texans?
He did have 100 against the Texans, but in the regular season, he had a quick blip as soon as Rashee Rice got hurt. Mm-hmm. Those 2 to 3 games after Rice got hurt, he had like 80 to 100 yards. But the last 2 games, I mean, he somehow had 39 yards last night. Don't know how that happened, but last game against Buffalo,
I don't even remember him catching a pass last night.
Last night, 2 games ago against Buffalo, he had 2 catches for 19 yards. So in the last 2 games, he's had 6 catches for 58 yards, which is not very good if you're supposed to be the focal point.
And they just paid. So another point to go off of that is, I think they will. In the sense of, because they just paid Noah Gray a good amount of money. And he can do just as much as Travis can at this point in his career. He's not the same player, obviously. I still think Travis is a better player, but the Chiefs are so good at retooling and moving off players early before they absolutely have to. Like, they moved off of Tyreek Hill. Was that the greatest decision ever? Probably not, but also they use that cap space to
They won 2
reallocate
Super Bowls
towards the
out of it.
I was
offensive
gonna
line.
say,
Yeah,
as
man.
soon as they've been to 3 straight Super Bowls since they got rid of him. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
they'll
know.
just reallocate the money. What they're gonna and they'll just do the same thing. They'll trade Kelsey or he'll retire or something. Then they reallocate that money to the offensive line. They'll probably go on to a Super Bowl again.
I will give the Eagles credit for one thing, and that is Cooper DeJean's pick 6 because
Dude,
that
he is
is
our
that
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson moment,
God
baby.
damn.
Let's
I was
go.
so
Let's go.
hype. I was so hype. That was the one time I was hyped the entire game. I was like, the one player on his birthday. They said he was a safety. They said he can't play corner in the NFL. My ass.
That was
My
his first
ass.
pick of the year, right?
First pick ever.
Like in the NFL, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dog.
That was our Jackie Robinson moment because there are kids out there now watching that were told you cannot play this position because of the color of your skin.
Do you think?
And now it has been shown that there is a guy that can do that.
You think he says it?
You think
He's
allowed
got
to
to,
do
right?
He gets a pass.
He
Last
has
night he had a pass.
They were playing
has
dreams
to.
and nightmares in the locker room, and they
He
were like,
has
"Dude,
to say it,
you
bro.
can,
There's
you
no
can
way.
one time."
There's no way. Coldest white boy of the
Dude, that was
2000s.
so
dude.
hilarious. And also, like, and the only player that the Eagles are losing is Zach Bond, potentially, but I think they're going to re-sign him.
Josh Sweat.
Sweat's
on a
Yeah,
1 year.
Sweat's on that list.
wasn't Sweat a healthy scratch last night? Josh Sweat?
No.
He
Are
had
we
2.5
thinking about the same
sacks, brother?
Oh,
Yeah.
wrong Sweat. Wrong Sweat.
He was in his bag.
I mean, Montez Sweat didn't play last night, but that's because
No.
he's not on the Eagles.
No. They had a Sweat inactive last night. I don't know who. It was
was
the guy
gonna
that
say,
used to play for the Jets.
Are you Becton? No, Becton was in.
What are you talking about?
It's
I
a
don't know.
Sweat, dude.
I don't know. It's not Josh Sweat. He was on a 1 year, $10 million contract, and he had
Yeah,
2.5 sacks and like 5 pressures last night.
Oh shit! I'm stupid. Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff was inactive from the
Yeah,
Jets.
that ain't,
Yeah.
that ain't the same.
all right.
That ain't a Sweat.
I was tripping.
I don't think there's any relatable letters in either name either.
I was just thinking, Jeff, for some reason, Sweat, and I don't know where it came from. But
They'll be
anyway,
good,
yeah.
But, well, with the way the game went, though, what are y'all's thoughts on like Jalen Hurts now? Like, is he him? Is he on that next tier now? Or
Yeah, Tyler, tell me. I've been the Jalen Hurts guy, so I'd love to hear it.
Jalen Hurts could have taken a kneel every single
Oh,
play of
shut
that
the
game, and they
hell
would have
up.
won. That's how good their defense
MVP.
was. That's how good their
MVP.
defense was. Okay.
MVP.
Nick Foles and Joe
He was the
Flacco won
Super Bowl
MVP.
MVP. Yes, they are cemented in history.
Are we
And
saying
still
that they're?
talk
Are we
about
saying
them.
that they were top 10 quarterbacks during their time?
At that time? Yeah, probably.
No way. Are you going to sit there and tell me Nick
We
Foles was a top 10 quarterback when he
weren't
won Super
sitting
Bowl
here.
MVP?
Okay, Nick Foles is a
Absolutely
different
not.
story because he was a backup. There was conversations of Joe Flacco
But he
being a
won
top
Super
10
Bowl
quarterback.
MVP.
Yeah,
Where-
on a
where-
run
okay.
that was
I'll
very
flip
unexpected.
I'll flip it back to you. Where does he rank for you? Because in my opinion, I don't even know if he's still top 10.
Jalen?
He's still not the
Let me-
he's still the 6th best player on his offense.
Okay, let me. What matters the most, Tyler? Regular season or playoffs? What matters more?
As a Vikings fan, regular season.
No. Give me the answer. When you perform at your performance, what matters the most? The playoffs. In 2 Super Bowls, he's outplayed Mahomes. Both.
Okay.
Big time. In
I don't
both.
care because look at what Howie Roseman has done to his offense. It is the best constructed team maybe of all time.
You still have to make, dude. That throw last night to Devontae Smith, that touch that you're telling me that was
throw,
all
I will
Devontae
give
Smith?
him credit for that throw.
Oh,
the throw
so
to
now he
AJ
gets
Brown.
one throw.
The
He had
throw to
100 yards
AJ Brown.
rushing.
Yeah, because of his offensive line.
What'd Saquon do last night?
That's because the whole game plan was to stop Saquon.
And put it all on Jalen Hurts' shoulders.
No, to rely on your defense.
Oh my God! They scored 44. They scored like 30 of the 44 points or whatever. 38 of the 44.
Give or take. There was a,
They did.
strip. There was
Saquon
a
didn't
strip
even
sack
get in the end
fumble.
zone.
There was a strip sack fumble. There was a pick 6. There was another interception at the 10-yard line.
Listen, there's not a lot of quarterbacks I'd take over Jalen in playoff games. When the moment is bright, this year in the playoffs, he had 920 total yards, 10 touchdowns, and 1 pick.
Yeah, put anybody behind that O-line. Put anybody behind that O-line and give him 2 number 1 wide receivers because that's what he has. And give him a top 5 tight end and give him the best running back in football.
Okay, so
I don't know what. I'm not going to sit here and give Jalen Hurts kudos for having the best, arguably the best offensive makeup of a team of all time.
What about, so you're not going to give any credit to Patrick Mahomes when he won the Super Bowl the first time around, when you have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce in this prime, a good offensive line? Like,
I would give it to Andy Reid.
But so you give no credit to Patrick Mahomes for his Super Bowl, that first Super Bowl.
The first one?
He threw 50 touchdowns that year, by the way.
He faced Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, my God, bro. So did the whole entire NFC playoffs. They couldn't beat him.
I cannot. Everybody wants to sit here and mark him as a top 5 quarterback now in the league, and I cannot I cannot sit here and do it with the markup of. That's the thing. It's a double-edged sword. Is as great as you want to think he is, his offense and everybody else on there is that much better. You cannot tell me if you put Jalen Hurts on the Ravens,
the best player on
they would
offense
be as good
last night. He was the best player on the offense last night. A full of stars, best player, biggest stage, top 5 quarterback.
The Chiefs
when
lost
you
the
needed
game.
him.
The Chiefs' offense and the Eagles. I'll give the Eagles' defense some credit. Like I said, I'll give Cooper DeJean his credit. I'll give even Jalen Carter his credit.
We all sat here last week and said we could not figure out who the 5th spot is.
Jaden Daniels. I also sat here last week and said, what was the biggest key to the game? The battle of the trenches.
I said Jalen Hurts.
The battle of the trenches. And that was clearly on full display.
No, is he top 5 for you? Because we can just.
I knew we were going to have differing arguments, so that's why
he played his ass off. I don't know what else you want him to do. So it's his fault.
That's the point. It's not his fault, but it is his fault because he has such a great offense because of what Howie Roseman has done.
I got to take my multivitamins from all this yelling. I forgot to take them this morning. I think here's what this game told me last night. I'm done ranking quarterbacks. I don't care who's better than who because at the end of the day, it don't matter. Like Jalen played phenomenal, okay, but I also don't think that takes away that there are probably 10 to 15 other quarterbacks in the league that would have won that game last night if they were playing for the Eagles. That is not to take away from what Jalen Hurts did because he was phenomenal outside of the pick that was pretty bad. Outside of that, he did what he needed to do. But, like, again, I see A.J. Brown making great catches on the sideline to back shoulder throws. I see Dallas Goedert running 15 yards down the field untouched. So I'm just done ranking quarterbacks. We had Patrick Mahomes, who was on a pedestal, can't be touched. Burrow, Allen, Lamar aren't close to him. He looked like poop last night. And Jalen Hurts looked better. At the end of the day, Super Bowls matter. That's all I care about. He won a Super Bowl.
I'll say this. There are not 5 quarterbacks in the league I would take right now over Jalen if I won the Super Bowl run. There's not. A guy in an elimination game, Jalen is one of those top 5 guys. Because he shows up every freaking time.
I'm just in the middle of you guys. Like, it's just, I would hope with that offense he does show up. And that's not to take away from what he did because he did play well. It's just like, all he could do is mess up. It's either he messes up and it's like he's so bad, or he does what is expected of him with the team that he has. That's not to take away from him because the Eagles front office has just done a phenomenal job building a team. Like probably one of both sides of the ball. Like we're talking probably best offensive line in the league, best defensive line in the league, one of the best secondaries in the league, one of the best receiver rooms in the league, the best running back room in the league. Like we talked last week about on paper the Eagles are such a better team, but they don't have Patrick Mahomes. It didn't matter this time. They were just across the board the much better team on paper.
And what about so I'll come back to this. So instead of last night, back in 2022, because if we're ranking him top 5, you have to take the body of work. Back in 2022, his defense didn't do shit, didn't help him out. He didn't have Saquon. Yeah, he had A.J. Brown and a rookie Devontae Smith. And he was the reason why they were in that game. So he has proven he can do it, without all these superstars. He has proven it. And he won the Super Bowl. He's one of, like, what was it, Matt Stafford, Joe Flacco, Pat Mahomes, and now Jalen Hurts have a Super Bowl ring?
What, black QBs to win a Super Bowl?
No. I said Flacco. It's like one of 5 active quarterbacks now. Like, he has to be in that conversation. He has to.
I'm just over ranking. Period. If you like, I won't be mad if someone says Jalen Hurts is 5. Fine, I don't care. If someone wants to say Jaden Daniels, fine. Matt Stafford, cool. I'm just kind of over it. Like our number 1 guy looked bad last night. So now that Patrick Mahomes played bad in the Super Bowl, what is he? Is he the second best QB in the league now, or are we still gonna?
Patrick Mahomes now has a negative 23 point differential in his career in Super Bowls.
So are we going to say now that he's not number 1?
Okay, I do want to say this. It was definitely the I won't say Pat's not one anymore because one game, his body of work proves the stuff beforehand helps his case. But I will say that was the worst performance I've ever seen from a quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Don't be a prisoner of the moment. Jared Goff's
was,
performance against New England was way worse.
It's close.
Peyton
I'd say
Manning's
they're
performance was pretty bad in 15. Threw for like 115, bro.
Kerry Collins' performance was very, very bad.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, see?
I mean, and
get
like,
on my level.
I said I've ever
age.
seen. I said I've ever
That's
seen.
fair. Was
Okay.
Pat Mahomes bad? Yeah, but like his first pick was when they were already down, what, like 17, 24?
10-0. The pick
Right,
six
but
made it 17.
He also stat padded at the end that made it look a lot
I'm
better.
not using stats to like.
I mean, he had more passing yards to Cooper DeJean in the first half than he did his own team.
Yeah, it was terrible. He looked bad.
Travis Kelce didn't have a catch in the first half. Like the first half, the second half, I will say their offense started to come alive, but a lot of that, yes, was garbage. Garbage time. I'm not sitting there dismissing that. But the game plan coming into that, they didn't run the ball at all. They didn't even try and run the ball.
I don't think they ran the ball until like into the second quarter. That was like late second quarter before they ran.
And I don't understand why, if you knew the pressure was going to be there, Noah, you mentioned it. That first play of the game, quick, right to Juju, right? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you try and incorporate a lot more of those quick throws? You have Hollywood to utilize there. I mean, D-Hop started to come alive once again in garbage time. D-Hop had a terrible drop. I think you mentioned that. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what the game plan was for Kansas City going into this game. That's what I question. I think the defense actually played pretty damn good. For all things considered, I think the Kansas City defense actually played decent for the cards that they were dealt.
What you got, Matt?
You can see here. I mean, the advanced stats say it was literally one of the worst performances we have ever seen. His ADOT was a 7.6, and his EPA per play was a negative 0.89. And I'm just blown away. His QBR was 11. It would have been better for him to throw the ball into the ground every single play. Like, not even over-exaggerating.
So I think that this kind of segues into the GOAT debate, because that's exactly what we were having before this game, is if he wins this game, is he the greatest of all time? And now, I don't know if he can even ever recover from this, because the two losses, think about it, Matt, the two losses in the Super Bowl have been blowouts. Brady never got blown out in a Super Bowl. Brady never really even got blown out in a playoff game. He had that one game against the Titans, I remember. I think it was his last game in New England.
He got blown out by Baltimore, too. 35-7.
Okay.
Oh, I remember that.
I'm sure you would.
It was 2011.
2011 season.
Yeah, something like that.
But in this, all right, matter of the fact, besides that, in the Super Bowls, Brady never lost by more than one possession. So, like, in those big moments, he was at least able to step up. Whereas Mahomes now, go look at the quarterbacks that have had 3+ Super Bowl rings. Mahomes has the worst touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah,
I think
he has
it's like
8 touchdowns.
8-7 is what it is.
Yeah, he has 8 touchdowns, 7 picks. Tom Brady in the Super Bowl had 21 touchdowns and only 6 picks. And Tom Brady went to 10. So Mahomes has more picks in the Super Bowl than Tom Brady.
Yeah, but you look at it and it's like, I think I saw that same graphic. I think Mahomes has been sacked as many, if not like one less time than Tom has in those. He's been pressured way more. Like, it's just different makeups of teams. That's why I'm just over, like, there's so many situations now. You could flip-flop QBs and we'd be having the same type of arguments just because the NFL is such a team-oriented game. I just feel like so much of it doesn't matter. There's so many talented QBs that you throw them on any of these teams. Very rarely do we actually see a QB drag a team to being better than what they really are. That does not happen often. And I think we get misconstrued that does happen. It does not happen often.
I think it happens way more often. Mahomes did it last year. The team was not good, and Mahomes did it last year.
I think
not
you
through
guys,
the playoffs.
Brady did it for years.
You guys shot yourself in the foot. That's what happened.
Brady did it for years.
The Ravens were the reason
Julian
that the
Edelman
Chiefs won.
As his 1. He had a freaking lacrosse player as his 2.
And then he leaves, and they still go to the playoffs the next year with a rookie Mac Jones.
Now what are they doing? They also had the greatest coach of all time. But
yeah, so I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's
doesn't that further Noah's argument?
Yeah, like I just I just think QB is such a situational position, man. Like, you definitely need a talented one, but the rest of the team composition just matters more than we put weight onto it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look at you look at the recent Super Bowls, and you've got guys like Brock Purdy that have been there. You've got guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Foles, but then you've got guys like Joe Burrow and Matt Stafford, and obviously Mahomes, Hurts. I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks as well that have been there in the last like 5 to 6 years. That's the other thing is I'm sick of it. Like, give me some freaking parity in this league, dude. I'm sick of the same 2 to 3 teams. It's either the Chiefs against the Eagles or the Chiefs against the 49ers, like the last 5 of the last 6 years, it seems like, with the one Tom Brady and mixed in there. Like, I'm so sick of it.
It's always been like that, man.
Can't stand it anymore.
Oh, speaking of, I just saw this on Twitter. The numbers just came in for the Super Bowl for the amount of people watched. What would you guys guess the final numbers were, since everybody said they're not going to watch the game?
What was last year's?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I need a barometer to go off.
Let's go with 52 million.
Would you assume that it was the most watched Super Bowl of all time?
Yeah, because everybody. The thing is, it's going to be the most watched Super Bowl every single year because people have more access.
It wasn't last year, though.
I'm going to say it was 52
million.
million.
In 2020? Was it in 2023?
I have no idea. But it's the most watched Super Bowl of all time at 126 million viewers. So to all the people, I just want to say, to all the people that said you didn't watch the game last night, you're a lying sack of shit. You had it on in the fucking background, and you were eating your dip and saying, oh, fuck Mahomes. Fuck Mahomes.
You know, I was saying after the first drive of the third quarter, Cars 3 started at 9 p.m., and I was really contemplating putting that on.
Oh, here we go. Dude, I freaking...
I will never miss a Super Bowl. I don't care who's playing.
I started watching it. I just, at the end, I was
I'm done. You know one thing I am done?
Yeah, where does this rank as far as Super Bowl? Because, like, what would you give this, a 1 through 10?
It was terrible.
Like, I got to give it... I give it, like, a 1.5.
Bro,
like, I really and truly... Between
it was
the
fun.
halftime...
It was for
I'm
a
gonna
blowout.
give it like a
It was
6.
a fun blowout.
It was like a fucking train wreck. It was like every minute it was like, this cannot get worse for the Chiefs, and then it proceeded to get worse for the Chiefs. Like every single
I thought
drive.
it was a good watch.
Also, Lady Gaga looked awful. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Who
before
shaved
the game.
her eyebrows? And
she
why?
looked.
I didn't even
was
see
like,
that.
Who is this man? Who is this ghost on my screen?
I didn't see
Whoa,
her.
dude, we're in 2025, man.
I know. Hey, but Cooper DeJean. The other thing, the halftime show. What was your guys? Did you guys watch it? I didn't watch it.
I did.
Honestly.
It
just sat in
Drake would have been way better.
Minutes.
I went back. I didn't watch it live. I went back and watched it today, and I noticed that there was. I don't listen to a ton of rap, but I do know Kendrick.
Yeah.
And I do know most of Kendrick's songs. No Mad City, no All Right, no Backseat Freestyle, no Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, no Money Trees, no Poetic Justice, no Swimming Pools.
I was really hoping for Money Trees.
All it was I'm going to get up on this stage and just diss Drake. And it's like, well, nobody wants to do this.
I got no. Well, I do have a dog in this fight.
The NFL
Drake is my goat. He fucked with Drake, and Drake ended up winning the beef after last night. It proved that Kendrick, he is in Kendrick's head 24/7.
Yeah, but you know where the NFL fucked up with this? It should have been Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is from
have you
New
ever
Orleans.
seen Lil Wayne perform?
Yeah, but
I've
on the
seen
Super Bowl
him perform.
But we all know his songs.
Brother,
he has
terrible.
way more noteworthy songs. I think at the Super Bowl he would have been fine. I think at the Super Bowl it would have been fine.
Disagree. He's terrible live.
I just want performers. I mean, like, I feel like it's kind of hard
Michael
for us
Jackson,
to say.
dude. Like, we need
That's
someone
what my
like
parents
that.
were saying. They were remember Michael Jackson in 1993? It's like
Chris Brown, dude. That's what Noah wants. Noah's Noah's
Put
a
a
big
boxing
Chris Brown
ring
guy.
in the middle there and let him just beat the shit out of women all night.
Hey man, it's 2025.
Yeah, well, they thems if he wants to beat the shit out of whoever.
All right, back to the game. I do have this question. Where does this Eagles defense rank? So I picked 3 defenses, and I want to know where you guys rank it.
Okay.
So the 2000 Ravens,
Okay.
You
the
didn't
Legion
watch
of
them.
Boom, and 2015 Broncos. But you know about the Ravens defense. You know that they in the Super Bowl they made them go punt, like everybody knows that.
That's one.
Ravens, Legion of Boom, and who's the Broncos?
And 2015 Broncos.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably have
Got
some bias.
fucking nightmares.
Ravens are one. I think the Ravens 2000 defense might be the second best all time behind the 85 Bears.
Whoa. Second best is crazy. At 10 points per game.
Yeah, I mean the 85 Bears. Have you looked at those stats?
Yeah, but 10 points per
85,
game.
they were still wearing leather helmets. Shut the fuck up.
They weren't wearing leather helmets then. That was only 8 years before I was born. You know?
Anything pre-92 doesn't count.
For that.
Anything pre-92 doesn't count.
Let's go. I was born in 93.
Well, there you go.
The 2000 Ravens, since 2000, the 2000 Ravens I think are 1-2. I would say, man, it's
really tough.
This is the thing, is I can't sit here and judge this defense yet. And it's because there's so much youth. Like, I don't know what these guys are going to amount to be. I would assume they're going to be great, but like guys like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, like those are all first or second year guys that what are the I mean, Josh Swetson is what, third, fourth year,
I'm just
something like that.
About
like
just
27.
this year. Like if you take a year by year,
I'd probably put him two.
But like looking back, like look at how good those guys were on the Ravens defense, and like how many guys that are in the Hall of Fame now. And then you look at like guys that were their careers prospered from that. Like at the time, did we think Von Miller was as good? I think he probably was, but like his career obviously elevated, I think, since then. And I think same thing with the Legion of Boom. I think there were some younger guys on that team that at the time, yes, we thought they were very good. And they ended up being very good, don't get me wrong. But there's been other defenses previously that we thought those guys were really good, and they did not pan out to be as good, whether that be injuries, whether that be off the field shit, whatever it might be. I think that's why I really and truly feel like we're going to be in the same exact spot next year, is because of the use of that defense. But I don't know where I can rank them. The three that you gave me, I'd say Ravens, probably Broncos, probably Legion of Boom, and then I don't know where I'm going to put that Eagles. I don't.
It's low.
I'm going to give him the Bryce Young test. Do I think Bryce Young would have hung 30 on the 2000 Ravens? Probably not, but he did do it on the 2024 Eagles.
I did see the Panthers. The Panthers put up dog fights against both of these teams.
Yeah. Chiefs won on a game-winning field goal as time expired.
Yeah. If I was supposed to rank, see, it's tough.
Coming off a loss, actually, too, so you know that they were motivated.
Yeah, that was their. When I look at this Eagles defense, I don't know that there's. Man, it's tough. The Legion of Boom, that secondary was disgusting, and you got Bobby Wagner. If I'm going between the Legion of Boom and the Eagles this year, I'm probably leaning towards the Eagles front seven.
Yeah,
just
100%.
because their four was nasty.
But we don't know what those DBs are going to be on the Eagles.
I know what they were this year, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They were good
this year.
So
they were great.
It's so hard to put that into perspective, though.
I don't think it is. I mean, I'm probably leaning the Eagles over the Legion of Boom, and people are going to be like, oh, my God, are you serious? But, yeah, just because on paper I think that front seven is gross, man. And I feel the same way about the Broncos. Like, Von Miller was disgusting that year.
Well, I had the Broncos second because of what they did to you guys. Like, the Panthers' offense was insane, and they completely shut that down.
Yeah, but to be fair, the Panthers' offense was disgusting with Cam Newton, 29-year-old Greg Olsen, and 31-year-old Ted Ginn.
Yeah, it wasn't as talented. To do it to the Chiefs, I agree with you. No, I think they're probably two, and I know that sounds wild, but like you said, dude, it's not. They're not great at one position like the Legion of Boom was. They were great in the DBs, but up front they weren't spectacular. Like they were good, but the Eagles are superstars all across the front line, superstars in the back. There isn't a hole in that defense. Not one place where you can be like, oh, we can attack here.
No, they had a defender make a play at all three levels last night. You had DBs with interceptions. You had their middle linebacker with a pick. You had a strip sack on the line. How many sacks were there in total? 6 or 7?
Six.
It was just. I don't know that I've seen a defensive unit as a whole look that good. Like the Chiefs
against
could
one of
not
the greatest
do
quarterbacks ever.
Anything. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the ball short. They couldn't throw the ball long. Like it was just.
Yeah, the Eagles defense last night, they had 25 pressures, 11 quarterback hits, 3 takeaways. And in the first half itself, they had 2 picks, 3 sacks, and 1.2 yards allowed per play in the first half.
Yeah, and I'm only judging halfway through the third. Because, I mean, they were basically doing the Gatorade bath as the third quarter ended.
Dude, that shit was hilarious. They did the Gatorade bath. It was Xavier Worthy scored.
Left. Yeah, so I'm not even counting, past the third quarter. I mean, it was 34-7 or 6 at that point.
Yeah, 34-6 because they went for 2
Yeah,
and didn't get it.
So like,
Because, dude, did you see that there was a guy that had Bucker to have 1 extra point in the game minus like 1,000, and he had like 20 grand on it.
No,
and he didn't get an extra point.
That's a bad night, dude. That is a
dude. I would never bet
because they went for 2 on the second touchdown.
They went for 2 on all 3.
All 3, yeah.
I'm never betting the Super Bowl again. I will sit here and say I promise. I bet on the Niners.
Did you put on Chiefs this year?
Yep.
See, that's why whoever you bet on is who's going to lose.
What do you think I had?
You definitely had the Chiefs.
I had a whopping $0 on the game.
Wow. You didn't bet. See, I should have done that. I took the I took the Eagles 2 years ago. I took the Niners last year, and I was like, screw it. I'm not losing to Mahomes, and he gets blown out. I'm just not doing it. Speaking of the Eagles and how great their defense is, and Tyler, you talked about how young they are. Are the Eagles the next dynasty in the NFL?
Yeah, I just said we're going to be in the same spot next year, and I would probably bank on it being in 2 years as well. Like I think because of how young this team is, because of the pieces that they have, like how long is AJ Brown signed for? How long is Devontae signed for?
They just re-signed. They're there for like 4 more years.
How long is Saquon there for?
He was on a
3 more years now, right?
Yeah.
How long is Jalen there for?
Yeah, 3 more years.
How long is all of their young guys on defense? That's what I'm saying. That's why Howie Roseman should have gotten MVP. Him or Patrick Mahomes, I think, because Mahomes is the reason that the Chiefs lost. But Howie Roseman has what he has done with this team. How has the NFL allowed all these guys to just drop to them in the draft? Jalen Carter.
Because he
dropped.
So I was thinking
Jalen
about
Carter.
that.
Also, Jalen Carter murdered a person. Like everybody forgets about that. Like
he didn't murder him. He just happened to be there when he was murdered, and then he left after he was murdered.
All right, Ray Lewis. Him, Cooper DeJean, Quinn Yamin, all these guys dropped. All these guys.
I wanted the Panthers to
Howie
take
makes
Cooper
the
so bad.
obvious decisions.
He does
that the GMs overthink.
Yep.
Cooper DeJean was known as a first-round corner. Some people had him in the top 10, and somehow he fell out of the first round. And the same with Smith too. He fell to like the 3rd round, and everybody was like, "Why is he dropping right now? Like, why are these players dropping?" And Howie's like, "Shit, I'll take him." Like nobody. It's like these GMs just like sit there and overthink instead of just looking from a pure talent and like evaluating perspective. This guy's talented. Okay. What is wrong with him? Instead, Howie's just like, no, he's a great player. I'm getting good value. I'm going to take him.
It's BPA. That's what every team needs to do. Like, obviously, if you need a quarterback, those positions weigh a little different. I've been begging the Panthers for years. I don't care what position we need. Take the best player. We got J.C. Horn, but I wanted Micah Parsons 3 years ago. Well, we've already got Shaq Thompson. We've already got Brian Burns. We've got linebacker. I don't care. He, to me, looks like the best defensive player in the draft. Just take the best player. It is. Who cares what position they play? Oh, we've already got a good corner. Okay, now you got 2.
I remember back in the day, way back when, the Vikings took AP, but they had the opportunity to take Brady Quinn because they needed a quarterback, but they had Chester Taylor at the time. Thank God they just went with the best available player in that situation. Look at what they did with the A.J. Brown trade. They traded Treylon Burks basically for A.J. Brown. Look at what they did with Devontae Smith. They took a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah,
Look at what they did. Look at what they did with Saquon.
Granted.
They
Howie
signed
deserves all the shit in the world, though, for taking Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Let him have it.
I'll never get over that video of the Vikings
sitting there
my
just
God.
Like, Spillman.
They were like,
Spillman's
oh my God.
just like,
like,
all right.
He's literally foaming out the mouth like, what the fuck did they just do?
Do you remember the receiver taken before Jordan Addison? Quentin Johnston.
Oh yeah, did go
those
Johnston.
Receivers taken before Vikings wide receivers in the first round have not panned out.
You guys took Jordan Addison over Zay Flowers.
Yes, but Jordan Addison's still been decent.
I was gonna say, that's
Zay
a
Flowers
wash.
has been great. Zay Flowers has been better. I will give Matt that. But like the comparison from Jordan Addison to Quentin Johnston and then Zay Flowers to Jordan Addison
here to like here.
Yeah. Also with Howie Roseman, I would say that this was the greatest offseason we've ever seen from a GM of all time. And back to the obvious thing, Saquon Barkley. Was not. I mean, there was a market, but it wasn't like if he was a free agent right now, everybody would be giving him anything he wants. It was a question mark. It was like, do you pay Saquon $12 million? He's like, damn, he's been behind. See, like this is where I'm like some of the casual fans actually do know just as much sometimes, because it's like I knew and you guys knew that Saquon was behind one of the worst offensive lines in football with one of the worst franchises, and he was still having 1,000-yard years. He was great catching the ball out of the backfield. It was obvious that if he went to a team that had the offensive line like the Eagles do, he was going to perform well.
And stay
it's
healthy.
Just like, yeah, it helps him stay. And you're not on turf anymore. Like, there is so much that went into it. He also helped hire Vic Fangio. He drafted Quentin Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. He signed Zach Bond. That was probably the best. That was probably their best signing. Even though people will say it's Saquon, Zach Bond was the best. Yeah,
like when you look at it from like production for how much you spend in the production that you got.
He got him for such a deal, and they got they re-signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, got Kellen Moore, Barkley, and they got Mekhi Becton, who played phenomenal.
Didn't Sirianni tell Kellen Moore to run that shit back last night? Did anyone else catch that? Do we think that happens? Yeah. Like, what if he's just like, oh, never mind, just run that shit back?
Does that shit like Liam Cohen did to Tampa Bay?
Never mind, I changed my mind.
This year, though, we completely saw a shift with running backs, because I think the notion over the last 5 to 6 years has been do not pay running backs. And the Ravens, the Packers, the Texans, the Eagles, they all paid those running backs, and they worked out. I'm not saying that is going to be how this trend continues.
But they just won a Super Bowl.
I know you do. But the one thing I'm going to say is
because of their running back.
Eagles fans need to be thanking the Minnesota Vikings, because if the Minnesota Vikings did not lose to the New York Giants in the playoffs, the Giants would have never paid Daniel Jones, and they would have paid Saquon Barkley, and they would have never released Saquon. So you're very welcome, Eagles fans.
I also have another thing with Howie, like in that same scenario. Have you guys seen the Carson Wentz trade and how it turned out now that's fully done? So the Carson Wentz trade, they gave up Carson Wentz, and they ended up getting Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Carter, and Cooper DeJean with those picks. They turned those picks into those 4 players.
Yeah, because Carson played like 80% of the snaps that year.
Yeah.
And they were able to turn that third into a second or something like that. Yeah.
That's the greatest haul I've ever seen. That in itself, he changed the fact that Howie moved off of Doug Peterson after winning a Super Bowl, moved off of Carson Wentz. He was like, shit, we paid him. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care. But it's also because the owners, like, I don't know if you guys know this. I did a lot of research on like Howie today because I wanted to do a video about it, and the way they structure contract. Yeah, but the way they structure contracts is because of the owner willing to shell out money for signing bonuses and stuff, because other owners don't want to shell out upfront money, but they do that, and that's why they have more cap space coming down the line. That's why I think they're going to be the next dynasty, because they constructed all of these players to where they're fucked in 2029, but from now until 2029, they're set. Like they're paying Jalen Hurts $55 a year. They're not actually paying him $55 a year. Like they've done it flawlessly.
That's a big overpay.
I mean, Super Bowl MVP, brother.
Should have given Nick Foles $55 million then, I guess.
It's not the same.
I'm just giving you shit.
All right, a couple more things. I know that we kind of talked about the Mahomes GOAT thing, but can he – you said no, Tyler, but I still think he can catch Brady.
I mean,
but he has to win 7 now.
Right, the blowouts in the Super Bowl, the 0-2 matchup against Brady in the postseason, like it's going to be very tough for him to get back – to even be in that conversation. I don't even think he's got to get 7, dude. I think he's got to surpass Brady, and I think he's probably got to go to another team and win 1-2.
Now what?
I don't think he'll have to go to another team because I don't think Andy Reid will be around too much longer. So I think he'll have a coach switch, and he'll get the chance to prove that it wasn't an Andy Reid thing, which was pretty much what Tom in Tampa was. Like, it was pretty much like he can win one without Belichick. So I think Mahomes will get that without having to leave the Chiefs. Yeah, I mean, for some people, he'll never catch him regardless if he won 25. That's just how it is. That's just how these GOAT things are.
I think if he won this, I think if he won this game, I think it is absolutely a
isn't that
conversation.
crazy? If you think about it, like you're just sitting here like
it's just
one
hard
game
for me to hold
so
it.
much.
Even if they like competed, like even if it was like a closer game, even if it was like a one possession game, and they're down 2 possessions, they backdoor to get to 1 possession game. Even then, I'd be like, okay, like this is still this is still in reach. But now I don't know because.
Man, okay, take the probability of winning 1 Super Bowl. What do you think the probability of winning 1 Super Bowl is?
For like the average human?
No, just like as an NFL team, like just an NFL team's probability of winning a Super Bowl.
I don't know.
You have 1 in 32 chance.
Okay, so
but some teams have greater chances.
It's gonna be a little different, but now times that probability by itself. So now you're at 2 Super Bowls, and then times that probability by itself for a 3rd time. We were asking him to do something that was insane. It does not take away.
That's what makes you the GOAT. Like we just saw
Brady never did it, so why can't?
Right.
So
but he
why
won
can't
7 Super Bowls? Like that's
I understand.
But what if Mahomes goes and wins 7 Super Bowls?
Yeah.
Brady also never got blown out in those Super Bowls. Like
that's
so you're just going to go
Eli
back.
Manning.
Yeah, that's true. He did get beat
everyone's
twice.
like Brady's beat Mahomes twice.
Yeah,
okay, well then Eli Manning's a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
Noah makes a good point too because they had the chance to have the perfect season and they didn't do it.
Right.
They didn't get to 3 Super Bowls in a row.
I was listening to somebody talk about it today, and they said last night's defensive line performance was the best that they've seen since.
I mean, look, we're looking
at. It's
at
ironic that it came up in a perfect season. The Giants' defensive line against the Patriots' perfect season, and then the Eagles' defensive line against a three-peat. So it's ironic that it came up in the 2 most monumental Super Bowls.
Last 6 years, 5 out of 6 were Chiefs Super Bowls where they were in it. Won 3 of them. 17-3 record in the playoffs since Mahomes has been there. That's GOAT shit to me. Like, I mean, regardless of how good he is in those games,
but it just shows you how good Brady was too.
I mean, Brady never got to 3 in a row, and he had 5-6 years between Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, and I'd argue
twice.
that more recently, Mahomes has had harder stretches to the Super Bowl than Brady did. You got to play Lamar, Josh Allen, C.J. Stroud. Like, Brady did have to go through Manning.
Boy, don't put C.J. Stroud in that combo. Come on.
That's a tough road. I mean, Brady had to go against Manning and Big Ben, but
Phillip Rivers.
I mean, I'd argue that both of those quarterbacks are way more talented than Big Ben ever was.
Well, Ben won 1. They haven't done that.
Yeah,
Ben won 1 in that.
Quarterback is winning.
He won 1. He won 1 in that division with Brady.
You know who else has snaps in? Now has snaps in the Super Bowl? Kenny Pickett.
He's got more rings than the Steelers do in the past decade. It's elite stuff.
More than the Panthers do of all time.
You love that stat. You're gonna soak that in, don't you?
My favorite Pittsburgh Steelers stat of all time. If Pittsburgh Steelers fans talk shit, all you have to say is your last playoff win was during the Obama administration, and it was.
Dude, their last 3 playoff wins were against like A.J. McCarron, Matt Moore, and somebody. Like, it's bad.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, last thing. How was the score bug? Actually, let me pull it up so everybody can see it. Just in case you didn't watch the game.
I got you. Here you go. Literally fucking poop.
Okay.
What are we doing? We live in 2025 in a society where graphics are at an all-time high.
Listen.
And this is what we come up with?
Listen, I will say, as ugly...
So it's like a 2-year-old did it.
Listen, the static score bug was ugly. I will say, some of the transitions when they were pulling up stats looked really cool. They were good.
Yes.
Some of the transitions when it would be like, however many yards, those transitions were cool. Why do we not have both teams' logos on here?
Yep.
Because
okay.
you don't need it.
Yes, you fucking do. That's part of their identity.
So you can't tell who's who here?
We're talking about the Super Bowl where we got Taylor Swift fans who are 13 years old, have never even fucking turned on an NFL game.
So yes. They would I hope that the 13-year-olds can understand that KC is Kansas City.
You can look at a picture of an Eagle and say, that's the Eagles. They don't even know where Kansas City is. Put the fucking logo on there. They're on the helmets.
Okay. I can agree. If they maybe would have added the logo, cool. I like the transparency here. Like how there's nothing there. I liked it. I thought it looked cool. I thought it was very minimal. I think it was better than their last one.
This gets like a 3 out of a 10.
I need logos. The black translucent behind the clock is poop. The font on the city is way too big.
Whoa.
It also looks
disagree.
blurry.
Okay,
That's
we're
probably
also
just
looking at a
that's
computer.
dog
No,
shit ass
no, no, no,
Twitter.
no, 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 no. It was like that during the game.
That's probably just one too many beers, big dog.
Yeah, dude, you probably.
I didn't drink a beer during the
How
entire
did you?
game.
So you're telling me you watched the Super Bowl yesterday, didn't have one beer, and didn't bet one thing?
Your boy's a changed man. I still hate the Eagles, though.
Dude, I was about gone by halftime. That's why
Yeah,
I wasn't.
no, I
I wasn't texting in our group chat, and Tanner, or like the Philly fan in our group chat, was like, "Oh, nobody's talking in here," because I'm trying to freaking enjoy the game.
This score
If you
bug
guys- if you
literally
guys
looks
think
like
this-
we could have made it and thrown it over.
Yes,
Like that's how.
Barstool-
Well, yeah, I could
yeah.
make that.
Barstool said it's like when they're streaming games and they throw up their own version of a scoreboard or score bug, whatever you want to call it. That's exactly what it would have been. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably about how I saw it too. Also, if you guys think the Swifties were bad, the Hurtsies are about to be better, be even worse, because Jalen Hurts is managed by an all-female team, and you know women are going to hop on that bandwagon.
I love women.
He's yeah, and plus he is a really good-looking man.
Women's rights. He looks like Shamar Moore. That's what I was
Dude,
thinking
he's
last night.
okay. I will
Who's
say
Shamar Moore?
Google him.
That's
I will
what I'm
say
about to
this:
do.
Jalen Hurts has the best.
Tell me
Has
this
the
isn't an
most aura.
adult Shamar Moore.
Dude, that picture of Jalen, all the pictures of Jalen
Oh,
Hurts.
the dude from NCIS?
Criminal Minds.
Criminal
yeah.
Minds. Same show.
Yeah, same thing.
All right.
That's his dad.
yeah.
Shamar Moore might be his father. Shamar Moore
He
could
is
be
a
my
good
father.
dude. No joke, every picture of Jalen last night was like iconic. Like it wasn't like the Jason Tatum shit where it was forced.
Fuck you.
He was just there, you know.
Jason
And he
Tatum did it
looked
first.
good. He had the freaking cigar just
Bro, why
sitting
don't you
there
take him
with
to
the
bed? Jesus Christ.
Dude, I might. He's a good looking
Yeah,
man.
I mean, seriously.
Let's wrap this shit up.
2025.
I got shit to do.
It says you, bro. You were doing that shit last week.
I got
to
shit to do,
Mahomes.
bro. Shut up.
All right. I got shit to do, too. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl champion.
The Chiefs lost the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Go
All
Eagles.
right.
Fuck Philly.
Yeah, fuck Philly, but go Eagles.
Yeah.
So, all right. Peace.